To be continued next season. Hello! Today we're going to be talking about cliffhangers. Now, as literary concepts go, cliffhangers are one that you're probably already at least somewhat familiar with. They're used all the time, and people talk about them pretty regularly in ways that they don't talk about things like foil characters or illusions or things like that. But just to refresh your memory, or in case you're not familiar with cliffhangers, they usually take place at the end of a story, either a chapter of a book, an episode of a TV show, a movie, a book in a series, or whatever the case may be, and they provide kind of a hook to get you thinking about what might come next, to keep you wanting to keep moving on with it, to read the next book, to read the next chapter, to watch the next episode, or whatever the case may be. Cliffhangers tell you that the story is not over and give you a hint of what might be about to happen or leave you with questions that are unanswered. For this video, I'm actually going to be talking primarily about examples from TV shows, because I think that serialized TV shows are really good examples often of cliffhangers that really leave you wanting more. So y'all already know from the series of videos that I made about whether Once Upon a Time characters are actually from fairy tales, I was a pretty big Once Upon a Time fan back in the day, and I can't make an episode about cliffhangers without talking about Once Upon a Time because they used them all the time. The end of season 1, the episode An Apple as Red as Blood, the last one before the finale. At the end of the episode, Henry takes a bite of the poisoned apple turnover. He collapses onto the ground. To be continued next week. The one immediately after that. The curse is broken. Everyone remembers who they were, but they didn't go back to the Enchanted Forest. And now there's this cloud of purple smoke going all over the town. And Rumpelstiltskin is saying, magic is coming. To be continued next season. Do you see why they might want to put something like that at the end of an episode or a season? To leave you wanting more, to make sure that you come back next time? I don't want to give just examples from Once Upon a Time because I know it's not a show that everyone watched, so here are a few more. Have you ever watched Star Trek, especially either Next Generation or Voyager? On those particular two Star Trek shows, it was very common to end a season with half of a two-part story and then begin it with the other half. They did this many times, but one that you might be familiar with is The Best of Both Worlds, the one where Picard is assimilated by the Borg. That one ended in the middle of the story in the season 3 finale, and it started up again in the season 4 premiere. Voyager did the same thing many times with episodes like Scorpion and Equinox. Often like really intense high-stakes episodes because that's the kind of thing that you see in season finales. So even though those were not necessarily as serialized as something like Once Upon a Time, they still made use of that cliffhanger ending you literally in the middle of a story to make you tune in next time, next season when the show returned, to see what happened. Another example, and you're probably seeing at this point that my taste in TV shows is primarily science fiction and fantasy. Doctor Who. The Doctor always regenerates either at the end of the season or in like a special episode in between seasons, and usually in pretty epic fashion. And I do get that part of the reason for that is actors sign on to do a season and then leave at the end of the season, and so the whole purpose of regeneration is to be able to recast the role, but then also it does provide a cliffhanger. Another example that is not a TV show but works in a kind of similar way is Star Wars. Star Wars produces a lot of individual installments that come together to make a bigger story. And so they want you to come back for the next one because they know usually that there will be a next one. And you know, in spite of all of the talk about how The Rise of Skywalker was the last Star Wars movie, now they're making all kinds of Disney Plus TV shows and whatnot. So it's not the last thing. In any case, several of the movies end with a cliffhanger, particularly The Empire Strikes Back. Han Solo is frozen in carbonite, he and Leia have just confessed their love for each other. What will happen? Everything, seems very bleak, but of course it's not the last one. So cliffhangers are very pervasive throughout all types of fiction, and any time that something ends on a note that leaves you wanting more, it's probably a cliffhanger. I hope that this video helped you to understand a little bit more about cliffhangers. If you liked it and you'd like to see more like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post new videos twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, and I talk about reading, writing, literary concepts, classic literature, study tips, college tips, and more.